Is it audible, guys? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So last session we were discussing about the concept of exception classes hierarchy, right? Isn't it? So what's the base class for each and every exception class available in Python programming language? Can anyone respond? What's the base class?
Base exception.
Base exception is the root class, or it is the parent class for each and every exception available in the Python programming language. So base exception. So under base exception, we are having many number of immediate exception classes. So out of many number of things, so we were concentrating only upon which exception class? Exception. So under exception, we can see various number of exceptions again. So as part of exceptions immediate child classes, you can see arithmetic error. So under arithmetic error exception class, we can see the child classes like division by zero error. So division by zero error is one such kind of error which comes into the category of what? Arithmetic error. Then what? Index error, key error, attribute error, end of file error, name error, value error. So like this, a number of exception classes are seen as part of the child classes for the exception class, isn't it? So that is what we have seen in the previous session, right? So we were discussing about what key error, index error, isn't it? So last session we discussed the examples for those exceptions or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So in today's session, so we will see the attribute error. So what we are going to see? Hello, can you please
Attribute
respond?
error.
Attribute error, name error, such kind of exceptions we can see in this session. Okay, so exceptions. Have you seen name error? Please respond. So have we discussed about name error in the previous session? For example, if I'm taking an X variable, are you seeing the editor? IDE, is it visible to you or not?
No, sir.
Can you see now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm taking an X variable here. X is assigned with what? 10. Then print of Y is written. Now, can you tell me, is Y is available as part of my logic?
No, sir.
So what I'm doing, I'm assigning 10 to X variable. So after assigning 10 value to the X variable, what I have done, I'm printing the content of Y, which is not available in the code. So without defining a variable as part of the logic, if you are trying to access it, what happens? Does Python virtual machine enters into the state of ambiguity or not?
Yes, sir.
So it is an example for what? Name error. Name error. So I'm storing into the consent path. So here my working folder is exception handling, located in the CSCP folder. So which is available in Python in desktop on the desktop. So CSCP exception handling. So here I'm storing the programs. Okay. So what's our program name? It is an example for name error, right? Name error example1.py is a meaningful name and run the program. FI is a shortcut. So I'm executing the program. So what it is showing? What it is showing? Please respond. Are you able to see the shell window, guys? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So are you seeing the things?
Yes, sir. Name
So
Y
what
is
it is
not
showing?
defined.
It is showing name error. So this particular exception was occurred due to what reason? So if you observe here, so here I haven't defined a Y variable inside of my Python program. So without defining that variable, I'm gaining access to the Y. Is it possible? So without defining a variable inside of the code, inside of the logic, if you're trying to access a variable which is not part of the code, then what happens? It leads to name error. So which is an exception occurred during the time of execution. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So what was the previous class strength? So many were absent in this session. Can I know the reason? Are you following my lectures?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
See, Python programming language is very critical for you people, guys. It is very important for your career. Please focus as much as possible than any other subject. It is very, 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 very important. So in third year, you are going to do project upon Python. So please remember. So please give more importance to this particular subject. It is very helpful for your career. Not for the it is not just for the sake of marks or for the sake of attendance. I am requesting you people to attend my session. Please focus upon the concepts. Okay, it is very important. So here I'm doing what? I'm assigning x variable. I'm assigning value called as 10 to x variable. So 10 value is assigned to the x variable. I'm accessing what? Y content. So y is not defined as part of my code. So without defining this y variable inside of my program, I'm trying to access it. So it is making the Python virtual machine to enter into the state of ambiguity. It does not know how to access y variable without defining inside of the code. So making Python virtual machine to enter into the state of ambiguity. So such kind of error, such kind of ambiguity, to represent such kind of ambiguity, Python virtual machine is creating an object for the exception class called as name error. Name error is what? It is an exception class. It is an exception class. It is one child class of exception class. So this particular exception is occurred when you people are executing the program. During the time of execution, if you are accessing a variable which is not defined as part of the code, as part of the logic. So when you are accessing such kind of variables or such kind of members which were not defined as part of the code, then obviously it leads to what? An ambiguity. So Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity. So how it is represented? With the help of creating an object for the name error exception class, it is showing its ambiguity. So how it is handled? So by placing this code inside of the try block, we can handle the things. So I'm giving examples for different kinds of exceptions that may occur during the time of execution. So are you understanding what do you mean by name error, guys? Now you consider one more file. So I will show you an example for attribute error. Attribute error. So are you seeing the untitled window?
Yes, sir.
Please respond. So
Yes.
please give response in terms of saying yes or no. Okay. So here I'm taking okay. So let us consider math class, guys. So import math. Okay. Import math. What I'm doing, I'm importing math module into my code, into the program. Then after I'm writing int of math dot xyz. Do we have xyz function available in math module?
No,
Can you
sir.
please respond?
No, sir.
So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to access an attribute of math module with the help of dot operator. So I'm specifying the name of the module followed by dot. The member which is present, the member which is existing within the math module can be accessed with the help of this dot operator. So if xyz is not available, if xyz function is not available as part of the math module, then what happens? Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity or not. So why it enters into the state of ambiguity? Because xyz is not available inside of math module. As xyz is not available inside of math module, our Python virtual machine will not understand. So how it has to access xyz from the math module? So without existing of this particular xyz from the math, I am accessing it. So when you are doing like that, what happens? Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity. So how this ambiguity is represented by the Python virtual machine? So Python virtual machine is going to represent its ambiguity or its confusion or its dilemma state by creating an object for the corresponding exception class. So if you see here, What it creates? It creates an exception object for the which kind of exception class? Which kind of exception class object is created here? Can anyone respond? Attribute error. Okay, so I will give attribute error example 1. Okay, so save the code, guys, and run the program. Already showing. We have xyz function defined inside of math module. Who is defining math? Are you people are defining the math module? So what kind of module is math? Predefined or user defined?
Predefined.
Predefined. So as part of math module, we don't have function like xyz. Let us suppose if I'm trying to access a variable like x. Okay, so let us consider x here. Okay, now I am writing math.x. Do we have x variable defined inside of math module? Please respond. Let us consider ABCD. Do we have ABCD variable defined inside of math? Please respond.
No,
Is
no,
it available?
no,
If it is available, then it can be accessed. If it is not available, if I am trying to access it, what happens? Our Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity. So how that ambiguity is represented? With the help of an object created for the corresponding exception class, it is showing its ambiguity to the end user. So resulting in abnormal termination if that exception object is not handled properly, isn't it? That is what we have discussed regarding the concept of exception handling, isn't it?
Yes,
Please
sir.
respond. So how exceptions are handled? So this kind of code has to be placed inside of what? Try block or not?
Yes, sir.
So try block, immediately it should be associated with what? An except block, so which is going to handle the corresponding exception object. So if such kind of exception block is not available, which is not associated with the try block, means obviously it is not handling the exception object. So resulting in what? Abnormal termination. So if the suitable except block is not available as part of the code, what it leads to? Again, it leads to what? Abnormal termination. Abnormal termination is what? It is highly undesirable situation to the programmer or to the developer. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Are you following or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See here. So this is the exception class hierarchy, right? Are you able to see the photo? Image of exception class hierarchy.
No, sir.
No, just give me a second.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
so now let us discuss about the type error. Okay, so type error. Now I'm writing def function one of x comma y. I am trying to do, guys. Can anyone respond?
Defining a function.
Defining a function which is accepting how many number of inputs?
2.
Two number of inputs. Okay. Print of x plus y. Print of x plus y. So this is the logic which I have to execute, and function one has to be executed, isn't it? So what it displays? It displays what? Addition operation that has to be performed upon the inputs that are provided to function one, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So now you call. Now I am taking a equal to int of input of input. So here I am writing enter a number. Okay, I am reading one more value into the p variable. Reading the value into the p variable. After, so how to execute function one? Please respond. So if I want to execute this particular code, what I have to do? Do I need to call this function one or not?
Yes, sir.
So what's the statement that has to be written by the programmer?
fun1 of a comma b.
Fun1 of a comma b. So function 1 should be called fun1 of a comma b. Okay. So unfortunately, let's consider this particular program, guys. Okay. I'm saving as example. Okay. Save as. So this is error example2. Error example2.py is the name given here. I'm saving the program and run the program. Okay, I will execute this program. What it is asking for? It is asking for the values. Okay, I'm giving 10 and 20. So 10 stores into the A variable, 20 will be stored into the B variable. So 10 and 20 are given properly. See here what it is showing? What it is showing?
30.
30. So is it the correct output which we are expecting from the program execution? Please respond. Please respond. Are you seeing the code or not? Are
Yes,
you
sir.
seeing the shell?
Yes, sir.
So is it the correct output which we are expecting from the program execution?
Yes, sir.
Now go to the code window. So here I am giving Vamshi. I'm giving the third input to the function 1. So do I have function 1 accepting 3 number of parameters, 3 number of inputs?
Sir.
Please respond.
No, sir.
No. But I have called this function 1 by using how many number of inputs?
3 inputs.
3 inputs. Do I have that kind of function available in my code?
No, sir.
What kind of function is existing or not? Function with the name called as fun1 accepting 3 number of inputs. Did I define that such kind of function in my code?
No, sir.
When it is not existing, when I'm giving 3 number of inputs here, again, Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity or not?
Yes, sir.
Please respond. So without having fun1 accepting 3 number of inputs, so I have called what? Fun1 passed with how many number of inputs? 3 number of inputs. Now, do I have fun1 accepting 2 number of inputs or 3 number of inputs? So this this code is having function 1 defined with how many number of parameters? 2 number of parameters. So it will accept only 2 inputs, but not 3 number of inputs. But what I have done, I have called this function provided with how many number of inputs? 3 number of inputs. Is it the valid one?
No, sir.
But when I'm calling function 1, what happens? Python virtual machine is entering into the state of ambiguity. So this code is not having the function 1 with 3 number of parameters. So it enters into the state of ambiguity. So how it has to call this sort of fun1 function? It enters into the state of ambiguity. So to reprint it, so it creates an object for the corresponding exception class. So if you are having doubts, you see here. So I'm saving the code, guys. So error example 3.py to run the program. It's asking for the inputs. I'm giving 10, 20. Now what happens? Can you expect during the time of execution, our Python virtual machine is entering into the state of ambiguity or not?
Yes, sir.
Here. So what it is stating? So fun1 is defined for accepting how many number of parameters?
2.
2. See here, takes 2 positional arguments, but how many inputs were given?
3 inputs.
3 inputs. So because of this reason, it is raising an exception. So our Python virtual machine has entered into the state of what? Ambiguity. So it's ambiguity. Our Python virtual machine's ambiguity is represented with the help of what? An object created for the corresponding exception class. So to reprint this kind of ambiguity, so it is creating an object for which class? It is creating an object for which class? Please respond. What's the class name? What's the exception class name? Please respond, guys. Type error is the exception class name. So for this exception class, so object will be created automatically by the Python virtual machine. So when this kind of situation is occurring. Now you consider the same code again. So here I'm writing. So here I'm giving only one input. Again, Does it enters into the ambiguity state or not? Our Python virtual machine, again, it enters into the state of ambiguity. When I'm running this particular program, again, it enters into the state of ambiguity. Error example 4.py. See here, save the code and run the program. So it is asking for what? What it is asking for? It is asking for the input. I'm giving 10. Asking for the second input. I'm giving 20. So 10 and 20 are given. So two inputs I'm asking from the end user dynamically. And then what I'm doing, I'm calling the function one. So how many inputs are passed? See the code. Hello. Are you seeing the code?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
how many inputs are passed to this function one?
One.
Only one. But do I have function one accepting one number of input?
No, sir.
No. Again, our Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity or not?
Yes, sir.
So how that ambiguity is represented?
Type error.
It creates an object for the exception class called as type error. So run the program. So go to the shell. So already I have executed the program, right? So I'm going to the shell and pressing enter. Here, function one missing. Missing what?
Positional argument.
So as I have passed only one input for the function one, so it is waiting for the second input. So this particular value for the y is missing or not?
Yes, sir.
So it is giving that message. Okay, this is the exception message. So this type error is what? It is the exception class name. Are you following, guys? So,
Yes, sir.
so how ambiguity of Python virtual machine is represented? With the help of what? Exception object, isn't it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So what was the previous class strength? Please respond. Sai Varun. Hello. Sai Varun. Are you there in the session? Sai Varun. Sai Varun. Okay. So what was the previous class strength? Vamshi?
45, sir.
45. Then what happened to my session? Why you people are not attending my sessions? Huh? So it is left up to you guys. Are you following or not? Please
Yes,
respond.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let us consider this permission error. Permission error. So you consider permission error. Example. Okay. User 1, user 2, user 3. So these three people are using the computer. So who can access computer? The people who are having login credentials. Only those people can gain access to the computer, isn't it? Who can open the computer? So it doesn't mean that. So when you people are if you turn on the computer, you cannot access the files and directories which are available upon the computer, isn't it? So first of all, you should know about what the credentials, login credentials are needed. The person who is having login credentials, only those people can log on to the computer. Only those people can work upon the computer, isn't it? So let us consider that I'm having 3 login credentials: user 1 credentials, user 2 credentials, user 3 credentials. So if I know any one of these person's credentials, that means either user 1's credentials or user 2 credentials or user 3 credentials, I can log on to the computer, I can work upon the computer. Let us consider that I'm having user 1 credentials. So with the help of user 1 credentials, I have created a file called as file 1. Okay, so who is the owner of file 1? Who is the owner of file 1? The person who is creating the file. So who is creating the file? So with the help of user 1 credentials, I am creating the file 1. So user 1 will become what? Owner of file 1 or not?
Yes, sir.
So this user 1 will become the owner of the file 1. Now this user 1 will have each and every privilege available upon the file 1, because as a owner, he or she will have each and every privilege upon the files. Okay, so as file 1 is created by user 1, so every privilege will be available upon this file 1. Now another user is there. So like user 2, let us consider that I'm logging into the computer with the help of user 2 credential. Okay, now user 2, can you tell me user 2 is the owner of file 1?
No, sir.
Who is the owner of file 1? User 1 is
User
the
1.
owner. Now user 2 is trying to access file 1. So user 2 can access the file 1 only in which situation? When user 2 is having permissions over the file 1. Okay, if permissions on file 1 were not given by the corresponding owner of the file or by the administrator, then what happens? Can user 2 can access file 1? Please respond.
No, sir.
No, it is not possible. Who is granting permissions on the file 1? Either by the owner, that means user 1 is the owner of this file 1. So user 1 can grant the permissions that are needed to the user 2. So whatever permissions that user 1 wants to give to user 2, so those kind of permissions can be given to the user 2. So read, write, execute permissions will be there. So generally what kind of permissions will be available over the file means, so read permission will be there, write permission will be there, execute permission will be there. So if user 1 is granting read permission to the user 2, when I'm logging into the computer with the help of user 2 credentials, if I'm trying to write some contents into the file 1, does it support?
No, sir.
Because of what reason? Permission error. Because user 1 is not giving the permission of writing some data into the file for user 2. So if such kind of permission is not given means, obviously it leads to what? Permission error sort of things. So when I'm logging into the computer, with the help of user 2 credentials, if I'm trying to insert some data into this file 1, or if I'm making modifications into the file 1, what it leads to? What it leads to? A runtime error or not? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So what it leads to? It leads to runtime error. Okay. So how that error is represented means with the help of permission error. Permission error. So permission error. So it is one kind of what? OS error. OS error is the parent class of what? Permission error. So we discussed about file not found error, right? So like this, n number of errors are there. So EOF error means what? Can anyone respond? EOF stands for
End of file.
end of file. That means what? When the file pointer is pointing to the end of the file. Okay. So when you are reading data from the point where file pointer is, so obviously in general, so when you are reading the data from the file, so you are reading the data from the file with the help of the file pointer or not. So when the file pointer is pointing to the end of the file where data is not existing, then in such a situation, when you are reading the content of the file, okay, so what happens? It leads to an error or not? So our Python virtual machine will enter into the state of ambiguity. So the particular ambiguity is represented with the help of what? Which kind of error? Please respond, guys. EOF error. End of the error. End of file error. So this kind of error will be raised. Okay. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So most of the times, 98% of the times or 99% of the times, we people were focusing upon which particular class of exceptions? Which class?
Exception class.
Exception and its child classes. Okay. 98% of the times, 99% of the times, we will be focusing upon this particular exception. Now, so all these exceptions are predefined or user-defined type? Predefined type means what? These exceptions are coming from the Python. They are coming from the Python or not?
Yes, sir.
Now, with the help of these particular exceptions, if the requirement of the customer is not at all satisfied, what we have to do? So we have to define our own exception in Python programming language or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So with the help of existing exception classes, with the help of existing exception classes, the requirements of customers are not met. Okay, what we have to do? Solution is we have to define our own exceptions. Okay, isn't it? With the help of existing exceptions, the requirements of the customer is not met, not met, and what we are doing, then we are defining our own exceptions, which are called as what? Please respond. Defining our own exceptions called as what? What kind of exceptions?
User-defined exceptions.
Called as user-defined exceptions. So exceptions are classes in Python programming language or not? Please respond. So every exception in Python is what? What it is?
Class.
Class. Now, when I'm saying it as user-defined exception, even user-defined exception is what? It is a class or not? Please respond. Hello? Are you following my point? Every exception in Python is what? Every exception in Python is a class. So when I'm saying like this, so exceptions are of two types, right? So exceptions are of two types. Exceptions are of two types. Okay. So the two types, first one, predefined. What's the second type? Please respond, guys. User-defined type. User-defined exception. Predefined exceptions and user-defined exceptions. Now, when user wants to define an exception, that exception is a class in Python programming language or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So according
Yes,
to this particular point, every exception in Python is a class. When I'm saying like that, so whether it is predefined or user-defined, so exception is defined as what? Exception is defined as what? It is defined as a class. Now I want to define my own exception. Okay. Now let us consider. The following requirement, guys. Requirement. Okay. So I'm asking data for the age of a person. Okay. Age of a person. Age of a person. Let us consider I'm developing Facebook sort of application. Okay, so Facebook sort of application. I'm developing Facebook sort of application. So can anyone access Facebook, guys? Please respond. What's the first step to access Facebook? The person who want to access Facebook should have registration into that Facebook or not?
Yes, sir.
So they need credentials, isn't it? So that person who wants Facebook to access, so that person should have what? Credentials of Facebook account. Okay, so this person who wants to access this social networking site called as Facebook should first of all register into the Facebook. Okay, so at the time of registering into the Facebook account, so Facebook is going to ask for the age of that person or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
What's the age? Age limit. Please respond. Let us assume that I want to register in Facebook account. Okay, so my age is 14. Okay, age of the person is 14. Now this person can have login credentials of Facebook, guys. Please respond.
No, sir.
So 14 is what? It is an invalid value. But so how I am accepting this value in Python, guys? Please respond. Simply for accepting input from the end user, here I will take what? So I will define a variable called as age equal to int of. So here I will write what? Input function, isn't it? Input of what I will write? Enter age of the person. Enter age of the person, right? So this is the message I'm going to give. Now this age variable is going to accept any kind of non-decimal from the end user or not? Please respond. Hello. When I'm writing this kind of statement here, okay, when I'm writing this kind of Python code, this age variable is accepting any kind of non-decimal value or not?
Yes, sir.
Please respond. If I'm giving an age value which is less than 18, Is it going to accept or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it is going to accept, but it should not accept. Can I fulfill this kind of requirement with the help of predefined exception, guys?
No, sir.
Please respond. When when the end user is giving a value which is less than 18, is our Python virtual machine is giving any kind of exception here?
No, sir.
But I want exception or not? I want to generate I want to generate an error during the time of execution or not? I want to create my own exception or not? I want to create my own runtime error for fulfilling this kind of requirement or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So with the help of the predefined data types, sorry, not data types, with the help of predefined exceptions, can I fulfill the requirement?
No, sir.
For restricting the person who is having the age less than 18, is it possible?
No, sir.
No, it is not possible. So I have to define my own exception, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So I have to define my own exception. Now, you consider matrimonial sites, matrimonial site. Again, in matrimonial sites. So what's the valid age? If person wants to create an account in the matrimonial site, the valid age. Respond, guys. First of all, person should have account in the matrimonial site or not?
Yes, sir.
Person should have account in matrimonial site. Matrimonial site. Okay. What's the valid age? You consider valid age as some 21 to 35. You consider it as the valid age, isn't it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Only this sort of profiles related to a person will be accepted. So while registering into the matrimonial site, so who can access the matrimonial site? So first of all, that person should have an account in the matrimonial site or not? So person is registering into that site. Okay. So while registering into the site, so this site will ask for the age of the bride or groom or not? Please respond.
Yes, sir.
So when it is asking for the age of the bride or for the groom, okay, so the age limit is what? 21 to 35. 21 to 35, you consider it as a valid age. But when I'm writing this kind of statement, accept the age of a person. Now what happens? It will allow any person with age not in the limit of what? 21 to 35, isn't it? When I'm writing this kind of statement, does it allows the person to enter any kind of age value or not? Please respond. If the end user is giving, the person who is using this particular site, okay, so as part of that code, if I'm writing this kind of statement, okay, does it allows the person or not? Please respond. If user's age is some 15, now he or she can create an account in the matrimonial site or not? Please respond. Is it possible or not? If I am writing this kind of statement here, so without raising any kind of exception, when user gives age value as 15, what happens? User can register into the matrimonial site or not? But please respond, guys. Are you following my example?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
If I am writing this kind of statement, okay, if user gives age value as 15, does it accept or not?
No, sir.
It will allow. So because of this sort of statement, it will allow. Are we raising any kind of exception here?
No, sir.
So do we have any predefined exception available in Python programming language to restrict a range of age values like this? Do we have predefined exception, class?
No,
Please
sir.
respond. What we have to do? Again, programmer has to define his own exception, isn't it? Hello. So this
Yes,
sort of
sir.
requirement can be seen in social networking site. Even okay, let us suppose you want to vote in your constituency. So what's the age limit? First of all, you people should have voter ID or not? Please respond.